Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with Major League Baseball. Today, we are talking about the trade deadline, really going to focus in on the defending World Series champs, the Atlanta Braves, and talk about what they can do this year in the trade deadline. They were the team that was the most active, and I would say reaped the most rewards from last year's trade deadline. I mean, think about it. They picked up Jock Peterson, who helped carry them to the postseason. They picked up Eddie Rosario, who put up numbers in the NLCS that would win him the MVP. And we know about Jorge Soler, the World Series MVP. They got all of that plus more last year at the trade deadline. They were very active. Now, do I think they're going to be as active this year? No. But I do think Alex Anthopoulos has got a few tricks up his sleeve to make some improvements at this year's deadline. So we're going to talk about that. But to kick it off, we got to talk about what are the greatest needs for the Atlanta Braves. What do they need going into this year's deadline? Number one is the outfield. We need an outfielder. After Adam Duvall went down the other day, it became even more of an issue. So I really think we need an outfielder. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where Eddie Rosario is going to go, how the Braves will use him. We're going to focus on all of that coming up, but also we're going to focus in on second base. That's my number two here. There's been a lot of talk about the Braves going after a second baseman at this year's deadline. All the way back on June 13th when Ozzie Albies went down with a broken foot, there has been talk about the Braves going after a second baseman. So we're going to highlight that. We're also going to talk about, this won't surprise you, the Braves bullpen. A lot of key injuries coming into the season. We all know how strong of a bullpen it was last year in the postseason. We know how important it could be this year as well. So we're going to talk about the problems it has had. We're going to talk about what they could do at the trade deadline as well. Now, that's key target areas for the Braves. It's three of them. Again, the outfield, second base, and the bullpen. So let's talk about what players could be on the Braves' radar, what difference they could make, and we're going to start out with, of course, the outfield. No one could have expected Eddie Rosario's early season troubles because it's not something you could have seen coming. It was eyesight problems. This was not a problem with his swing. This was not a problem that could have been foreseen. So the Braves signed him to a 2-year deal. It hasn't amounted to much yet. Hopefully it will. There's still another year after us. There's still half a season to go. That being said, since his return on July 4th, he's only 9 for 48. That's good for a 188 batting average since his return. Now, to be fair, this is not saying that he couldn't pop off later like he did last year in the NLCS, but a 188 batting average is not going to keep Eddie in the lineup every day. So, could another left-handed bat be of interest? That's going to lead me to candidate number one, Andrew Benintendi from the Kansas City Royals. Already rumored to be of interest to the Braves, a left-handed bat on the fourth-place Royals, who are sellers. He's having a solid year, a .322 average, a .353 on-base percentage with 3 homers. He was an all-star this season and won a Gold Glove last year. He has postseason experience with Boston in 2016 and 2018. He could be a steady left-handed outfield bat targeted by the Braves. With that said, another left-handed bat that could be targeted. Candidate number 2, Charlie Blackmon of the Colorado Rockies. This is a guy that every year I sort of find myself going back to. He's a Georgia guy, and what I mean by that, no, he was not born in Georgia, but he did play at Young Harris and at Georgia Tech. He is a 4-time All-Star, a 2-time Silver Slugger. In 2017, he was 5th in MVP voting. And if you're curious, he's having a good year too. 15 homers already, a .275 average, and a .325 on base. Look, he could fit right into the Braves lineup. It's hard to say for Colorado, though. This is an organization that, frankly, beat to the tune of their own drum. I mean, a couple of years ago, they had Trevor Story. He was headed into free agency. They couldn't re-sign him. They decided not to trade him and get anything for him. So the same scenario could happen with Charlie Blackmon. And by the way, Charlie Blackmon is also a career Rocky. He may want to stay with Colorado. That being said, it's going to be interesting to see. This is the same organization who has no intention to compete for years to come, who just signed Chris Bryant to a 7-year, $182 million deal. This is just a strange organization. That's all I can really say. I'm not saying they make the wrong decisions, but they don't act as expected. It's really hard to get a read on them. That being said, I think Charlie Blackmon would be a great pickup for the Braves, depending on the asking price. Now, if you can't land either of those, candidate number 3, David Peralta from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Without a doubt, the Diamondbacks are sellers. This is another lefty bat option. He's a free agent 2023. That's the end of this year. He fits the mold and he meets the criteria. He's having a pretty good year. 244 average, 12 homers, a 312 on base, former Silver Slugger and Gold Glover. Guys, this is a solid player. He's what we expected Rosario and Duvall to be. Plus, Arizona is definitely a seller. Again, they're last place, 21 and a half games back. I think David Peralta will be making a trip to another team. Whether or not it will be the Braves will be found out later. Now, candidate number 4. This is not a guy that I really believe the Braves are going to target at all, nor do I think his team's going to let him go, but it's a guy that a lot of you have brought up to me, so we're going to talk about him. Joey Gallo from the New York Yankees. Again, he does fit the lefty bat preference. He's a free agent 2023, two-time All-Star, two-time Gold Glove. I don't hate this move, but I don't love it. For one, I have a high respect for batting average. I really do. And in 2022, Gallo has a 162 average. He does have 12 homers, but he's only got a 286 on base. I don't think Joey Gallo has had his best season. I'll just be honest with you. Not this year. And who knows what a change of scenery could do for him. Playing in New York is a tough place to play. I just don't think the Braves need to target this. I don't like the idea of sending a profitable prospect package back to New York for Joey Gallo for half a year. I just don't think it's worth it. I think New York's going to want a lot for Joey Gallo when he doesn't deserve a lot. Not for this season's performance. I'm sorry. That being said, that's going to lead me to my last point for the outfield. This is not a candidate specifically. This is more so the elephant in the room. I want to address this. When Adam Duvall was declared out for the season, I saw countless posts about bringing two guys back to the Braves. And it's two guys that we're very familiar with. It's two guys that Braves fans absolutely love and adore, and rightfully so. They're frankly two guys I'd like to see back in Atlanta. Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler. Can lightning strike twice? Everybody wants Alex Anthopoulos to work his magic and bring one or both of these World Series heroes home. They are both having decent years. Honestly, I don't see a place for both. I think if this was somehow to happen, that it would be one of these players. It would either be Jock Peterson or Jorge Soler. But what's standing in the way? Well, for Jock Peterson, it's the fact that the Giants are not sellers. They're in third place in their division, and as of today, only 2.5 games back out of the wild card. Much different than when the Braves snatched him up from the Cubs last year. It would take a lot to get him. That said, it's not impossible, just highly unlikely. I've seen all kinds of trade ideas for this. I've seen packages including Ian Anderson, Marcell Ozuna, Mike Soroka, and Travis Demeritte, all for Jock Peterson and Alex Wood. If that's the package, I'm passing on it. But if it is possible and the price is right, then I say go for Jock Peterson. I just think it's unlikely that the Giants are going to let that happen. So what about Jorge Soler? I'll be honest with you. The door is a little bit more open, in my opinion, for Jorge Soler to return to the Braves, given the standings. The Marlins are in fourth place. They have no chance of going to a wild card game. They have no chance of winning the division. I would have said otherwise had you asked me this time last year. But we saw this exact situation play out with the exact same teams with Adam Duvall last year. So it's not that impossible. I thought it was highly, highly, highly improbable last year for the Braves to get Adam Duvall back. And then it happened. So, you know, it's crazy. Why would the Marlins trade him to a division rival? There's one reason and one reason alone. Prospects. Last year, the Braves lost Alex Jackson in that trade, which hasn't surmounted to much yet. Now, that could change on another trade. If the Marlins wanted a highly touted prospect, it could get tough in the next few years. Another trade could help Miami become a real threat in the National League East. Is Soler worth it? Well, he's got a 207 batting average this year, 13 homers, a 295 on-base percentage, and it may not stick out to you, but I think everyone is aware that Soler can be lightning in a bottle under the right circumstances. And yes, he's a right-handed bat, but platooning with Rosario could help Eddie as he battles back from injury and protect Soler by keeping him away from right-handed pitching. Not to mention he would have more protection in the Atlanta lineup. Whether or not it happens, I think it's a long shot, but we will see. Crazier things have happened. So again, my 4 outfield candidates: Andrew Benintendi of the Royals, Charlie Blackmon of the Rockies, David Peralta of the Diamondbacks, and Jorge Soler of the Marlins. Is your pick in this list? There's plenty of quality stars across Major League Baseball that could be a perfect fit for the Braves. If I didn't mention your pick, drop them in the comments below. I might do a video on them as well. With that said, let's move on to the next section. Let's talk about second base. I feel like the general mood of fans for the Braves when it comes to second base is that they have to do something about second base. But I think it's important to remember that they already did. Last season, April 6, 2021, the Braves traded Chad Sabatka and Patrick Weigel to the Milwaukee Brewers for Orlando Arcia. Since arriving in Atlanta, most of his time has been spent on the bench. In that time, he has posted a .232 average, a .313 on-base percentage, and 7 homers. Maybe not lighting the world on fire, but decent numbers. Not to mention, the Braves did not stop with Arcia. June 11th of this year, they also traded for Robinson Cano. His resume speaks for itself: an 8-time All-Star, a 2009 World Series champ, Home Run Derby champ, All-Star MVP, 2-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger. Personally, in my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious that Arcia and Cano can hold down second base until September. The offense may not be consistent out of these two, but split time at second could be enough, especially considering they are surrounded in the lineup with Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, William Contreras, and so many others that can contribute offensively. That being said, I think the Braves can hold off trading for a second baseman at the trade deadline this year. Honestly, I think the Braves will hold off and let Arcia and Cano hold on to second base until Ozzie returns, which is scheduled to be around September. But could the team improve there? Absolutely. So let's take a look at some candidates if the Braves were to decide to do that. I think Whit Merrifield is pretty interesting. He's a free agent at the end of the season with a club option. You could possibly include him in a trade with Andrew Benintendi with the Royals. I don't think you're going to see a big star come play second base for the Braves this year. We have a big star, second baseman. His name is Ozzie Albies. I think we're going to wait on him and we're going to let those two cover it. Instead, I think you'll see a smaller move, if anything. You know, the Rangers are a team that's out of it. Why not reunite with a former all-utility man in Charlie Culberson? This is a guy who would not only add depth to the infield, he would add depth to the outfield, he would add depth to catcher, he would add depth to the bullpen for all we know. Charlie Culberson is a guy that can play any position, and he's a well-liked fan favorite. I think that would be a good addition if you can make it happen, if you can find room on the roster. I think that would be a good move, but I don't think you're going to see a big star. I don't think you're going to see someone come in and compete with what Ozzie Albies has built. I just don't think that makes sense for the Braves. You don't want to pay it. You don't want to keep him. I just don't think it makes sense. And to be honest with you, there's nobody really in the market that I think is worth trading a ton right now for the remainder of the year. That being said, again, I think you're likely going to see the Braves hold what they got with Robinson Cano and Orlando Arcia, unless they make a small depth piece move. I just don't see anything. But maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you have a theoretical theory, and again, let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. With that said, let's go to the bullpen. We all know how influential the bullpen was in the back end of last year. We all are aware of it, but can it be that again? Looking at it as a whole right now, I have some doubts, and I know you do as well if you're a Braves fan. Minter, Matzik, Smith, Colin McHugh, Kenley Jansen, I think we're all aware that those guys are locks for the rest of the season, pending health reasons. But based on this year, I'll add Dylan Lee to that. I think he has been phenomenal. And others have played their part this year, but something is missing out of the bullpen, and it's noticeable. Again, I think you could add a couple of insurance arm, mainly on the right side. I think that would be huge for the bullpen. You wouldn't have to overuse guys like that, because that's been happening. I think it would really benefit the pen. I think it would really benefit the team as a whole. My dream pick for the bullpen this year would undoubtedly be David Bednar from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is my first choice, though he seems to be too high of a price, much like his teammate Brian Reynolds has been every year. He's been phenomenal this year. He's a little older, but if you could get him for the remainder of this season, that would be huge for a team like the Braves, although I really think this is unlikely based on the rumors that we're hearing. We're hearing that the Pirates really want to hang on to this kid. Anthony Bass is another pick out of Miami. And again, maybe you throw this in a trade with Soler if you can make it happen. But this is a guy that catches my attention. I can't stop thinking about the Braves trading for this guy, especially if he was in a trade including Soler. Or Anthony Bender, who could be a great arm in the future, though that would take a lot. Just Anthony Bass would aid the pen a lot in 2022. This year, he's got a 1.51 ERA, 43 strikeouts, a 2.18 strikeout for walk rate, and a 6.9 strikeout per nine. So I think that guy would be huge if you can trade with Miami. If you can't trade with Miami, go on over to Chicago. Go to the Cubs. David Robertson. This is a guy that could be an affordable pickup. He's a free agent at the end of the year with the Cubs. They are not competing. He's a veteran of 14 years, and he's looked great all year. A 1.83 ERA, 50 strikeouts, 11.4 strikeout per nine, and a 2.63 strikeout walk rate. I think he'd be phenomenal for the Braves if they could pick up David Robertson of the Chicago Cubs. If you want to go another route and add another left-handed reliever, you could. Gregory Soto, it would be your obvious option. He comes with years of control. He's a free agent 2026, but he's going to cost young prospects for the Tigers. This year, he's got a 2.56 ERA, 32 strikeouts, 9.1 strikeouts per nine, and a 2.13 strikeout per walk rate. I just think your trade is better spent on a guy like David Robertson or Anthony Bass, a guy that's contract ends at the end of the year. You let him walk or you re-sign him, one or the other, and you just take the risk on that. And you don't have to spend as much. You don't have to give up 5 prospects for one player. I just think it makes more sense for the Braves to go get someone like that. Maybe both Anthony Bass and David Robertson. We'll see how it goes, but I think the Braves are definitely going to attack for the bullpen. I think that is their primary focus over second base, and I would venture to say over the outfield right now. They have got to lock in that bullpen. They cannot afford to lose postseason games after the 6th inning. They cannot afford to do that. That being said, we will see what happens at the trade deadline. But just for a second, I wanted to take a sidetrack and focus on the Braves farm system. Because with all of these trades, we're talking about moving prospects, and we could see potentially, somebody in the majors moved. But right now, it's been mainly talk about trading prospects for the Braves, at least on my end. So I wanted to take a second to focus on not what the farm system could be, but what it is, and talk about some of these guys in the farm system that have made an impact on the team already. Jesse Franklin, Vaughn Grissom, A.J. Smith, Shawyer, Jared Schuster, Kyle Muller, Bryce Elder, Tucker Davidson. Tucker Davidson pitched in the World Series. I mean, these are guys that we have gotten to know in a Braves uniform. We've looked forward to seeing some of them take the field in a Major League uniform. We haven't seen it yet for some of them. One of these guys could wind up in these trades. Multiple guys could wind up in one of these trades. We don't know. We have seen highly touted prospects traded recently. We saw Drew Waters traded. We saw Shea Langoliers and Christian Pache traded. We are in a trade mentality right now. We are in a win-now situation in Atlanta. So don't be surprised if you see one of these guys get traded and move on to another team. We very well may see it. That being said, I think you have to trust your front office. You have to trust your general manager in making the right decision. I mean, look at what happened last year when they made the right decision. So it worked out beautifully. Hopefully it'll work out beautifully again this year. That being said, thank you so much for watching. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what trades you want to happen, what trades you don't want to happen, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. With that out of the way, guys, we're looking forward to the trade deadline, and we're going to be right here with you all the way there.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.